What if events went differently in Star Wars The Clone Wars? What if Darth Maul was able to land a killing blow on his former master? With Palpatine out of the question this early in the Clone Wars, how could events change in the galaxy for the Jedi and the remaining Sith? Today I will explore this famous question with my own version. Seeing many people do this what if, I thought I would take my own spin on it. If you enjoy Star Wars what if content on the channel and would like to see more, make sure to request some of your ideas in the comments down below. With that being said, let's get into this fan fiction. Darkness clouded Mandalore. It was a darkness Maul had grown accustomed to. The glass surrounding his formed arches, allowing the light to pour inside. It caked his mixed skin and made it appear several shades deeper than it actually was. He tilted his fingers back and forth, observing the way the glimmer bounced around his gloves. The lightsaber hilted by his side dangled and hit the edge of the throne he sat on. His brother, Savage Opress, was pacing, his armor creating the illusion that the man was a powerful being. Of course, he was. However, when he compared to Maul and his skills, Savage was merely a learner. Maul had been a learner once too. His horned head bent downwards, his golden irises taking in the floor beneath him. Grim stained what was left of his lower body, the pale color of the throne room creating a contrast between his presence and the rest of the architect. It was as if he was an outline in his own home. Savage carried the same weight. The way he presented himself came off as a flake. It was an illusion like the armor, his chipped horn and sharp cheeks displaying the parts of him he wished to show, not the parts that were actually him. Maul rubbed his forehead and ended up wiping moisture off of his head. That had him halting in his tracks. The moisture dripped down the side of his face, his stomach turning as his throat dread with his tongue. Each cell inside of him hopped inside his veins until they threatened to burst. His brother halted in his tracks, but he couldn't have felt what Maul did. It was too intense, too personal. It made his skin slide around his body until he thought it was melting off. Legs clanged as Maul stood, his lips parting to say the word he never thought he'd say so soon. He was sure the encounter would occur at some point down the line, but it was almost insulting how swiftly fate had come knocking on his door. Before the entrance even opened, he heard the rattling boom of his master's footsteps. He smelled the stench of burnt fingertips from the lightning his master had used. When the doors revealed the man who made Maul's mechanical knees threaten to buckle, the two guards were tossed to the wall as if they weighed about as much as a blade of grass. Maul didn't flinch. If he did, he would allow weakness to slip through the surface. Despite the terror swarming through his stomach, he had to appear strong. If he appeared strong, perhaps he'd act that way too. Savage was quicker on the draw than Maul, his hand to his sword as soon as the foe entered. With a hand flick, the door shut behind Darth Sidious. A cloak swayed in the breeze, covering most of his face. All that remained was a blocky chin and the lips that were cracking in all the wrong places. The already narrow corridor of the throne room felt like it was shrinking to a quarter of its size. The man approached, his shoes pattering against the polished floors. By the time he halted a little over a dozen feet away from the pair, Maul got in front of his brother, hiding Savage's trigger-happy hand with his finger. In the hopes of appealing to his power-hungry nature, Maul kneeled and bowed his head. "Master," he said, his throat letting the word pass, but barely. "I am most impressed to see that you have survived your injuries," the dark voice replied, rattling Maul's body. Maul forced the weakness to stall, him setting his jaw. "I used your training, master, and I have built all of this in hopes of returning to your side." The single noise had Maul peeking up with only his eyes, not his head. His master focused his gaze on the pacing Savage, whose hands was still lingering much too close to his weapon. "How unfortunate that you are attempting to deceive me, master." The cloak turned with the rest of Darth Sidious's body. Maul raised his head that time, his pupils dilating as the seconds ticked. No guards were in the throne room, no help were on the way. All that was left was Maul, Savage, and Darth Sidious, gathered around the slime halls of the throne room. That was when Sidious snapped around, his mouth falling open. "You have become a rival." In a flash, Maul and Savage were pressed against the glass, their chests weighed down by the pressure of the Force. Maul fought back, clenching his teeth together, only for his old master to drop them. That was when the lightsabers were drawn, and Maul planted his feet. Darth Sidious ignited his sabers, the two blades matching the hue of theirs. A beat later, the fight broke out. The lightsabers scratched over each other as they went. Darth Sidious pressed his blades into the ground to create burn marks in the smell of the smoke. What followed was the difficulty of keeping up with the movements. Maul had never shaken so much in his life. One strike with all his might was blocked with ease by his former teacher. By the time they moved to the spontaneous area of the staircase, Sidious knocked them down on the floor. The stairs added a height advantage if they so desired. The cyan and cream-colored patterns of the wall and ceilings, dozens of feet above their heads, highlighted the scarlet of their swords. Maul struck Sidious, but he blocked once more. That led to a kick to the face. A bruise formed in no time, and Maul was sent flying to the back wall that led to the main throne room. As soon as his head made contact with the dark substance, his vision wavered. Ringing blinked around him, pain seeping through his skin, but Siths grew stronger thanks to pain. That made him snap awake as he rubbed his conscious head. He sat upright in time to see his brother only get stabbed in the chest. Sidious knocked the man away, Maul hopping to his feet and whispering, "Brother." As he hopped after him, Sidious didn't bother halting him. Maul went to his fallen friend, taking his hand and squeezing it. The rage was swelling through the pits of his chest, the lime fog flying off Savage into the open air. "Brother, I am an unworthy apprentice," Savage said, his voice dipping by several pitches. "I'm not like you. I never was." Maul stared at the sight of Savage dipping his head, the colorful eyes fading to the dust. As the familiar laugh could be heard across the arena, Maul held Savage's hand before taking a breath. If he were to defeat Sidious, he had to feed his anger, but also think outside the box. He tapped his comlink once, alerting any and all nearby guards to gather his location. Remember, the first and only reality of the Sith, there can only be two, and you are no longer my apprentice. You have been replaced, Sidious said, the words sparking the fire inside Maul, the fire he desired. His hand whipped out his darksaber. Both his hands held a blade, and the attack from Sidious came at an instant. He threw his weapons at Maul, Maul blocking and doing all his best to stall. The best chance he had was to trap him, not to beat him in combat. His wish came a minute later when the roars of jetpacks came. Sidious halted, the pair peeking at the approaching guards, donning Mandalorian armor. Right as Sidious was about to change his method of attack, Maul had used the Force to push him down. That caused one of his lightsabers to drop, a guard reaching the ground and confiscating it. However, Sidious didn't go down without a fight. Despite the dozens of guards who had came in, Sidious cut a third of them down, maybe about half. It took consistent blaster fire from both guards and Maul, but Sidious was defeated. Maul never thought that he would be so satisfied to hear a body drop. He stared at the steaming corpse of Sidious, then at the corpse of his companion. The guards did a check on Maul to ensure that he had no injuries, but his mind was elsewhere. The battle had left him, alone and confused, his hands trembling. There was no way he could have won that fight on his own. Savage was annihilated the second he was without Maul. Maul didn't wish to ponder what would have happened to him if the guards had taken just a minute longer to arrive. What he pondered was what happened next. His dream of overcoming Sidious had finally been accomplished, and there was so much more to do. There was a galaxy waiting for him. All he had to do was reach it. And just like that, darkness clouded Mandalore once again. and that is going to be, what if Darth Sidious was killed on Mandalore, and what if Darth Maul had succeeded in getting his revenge for Savage? What do you think would have happened to the galaxy? I do believe that Count Dooku would become the new Emperor until either Darth Maul would face him, or Darth Maul could become the Emperor. It could go either way, really. But that being said, if you guys do enjoy these Star Wars What Ifs and would like to stay all up to date with the latest content, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. That being said, thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic day.